YouTube, it is another Friday Jets installment, Jets Talk. I'm Jake Asman. Welcome back in to my YouTube channel. If you're new to the channel, thank you for watching. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe below. You can follow me. I'm on social media on Instagram and Twitter at Jake Asman, always talking Jets with you. And if you subscribe to the channel, it allows me to do more videos like this instead of just, having the national radio show and talking Jets and some segments here or there. Try and do Jet-specific videos on YouTube. So if you haven't already, please subscribe below. My guest, if you're on YouTube, if you're watching Jets content, you know who he is. Matt O'Leary. He's covered the Jets extensively on YouTube for years, always has great insight, always has great opinions on the team. So we're linking up here, Matt, and we're going to talk some Jets. Thanks so much for being with me, man.
Yeah, excited to be on and get into it. It's exciting times for Jets fans right now.
It definitely is. Now, you were at the New York Islanders game on Thursday night. We're taping this, as I mentioned, on a Friday morning. So you were there Thursday night. Dan Feeney and the Jets were in the building. Islanders didn't win the game, but it is pretty amazing. Anytime those guys are shown on the Jumbotron, the crowd just goes absolutely insane for the New York Jets players.
Yeah, it was wild. Even a little JETS chant started up in my section when they showed Feeney. He's a blast, man. He's just, chugging beers, cracking them on his head, having a good time.
No doubt about that. So as far as the Jets on the field, minicamp has wrapped up. So the next time we see the Jets and we really get, interesting on-field Jets storylines, it's going to be training camp at the end of July. Let's kind of start big picture, Matt. Everything you've seen from minicamp and you've seen from OTAs, give me some big takeaways from this year's Jets team so far.
Yeah, there's just, I don't know. To me, there's just a different level of excitement. And I think part of it is with the rookie quarterback, and he's looked good so far. But honestly, the thing that excites me, I think the most is all the positive things we've seen coming out from minicamp and rookie camp about Elijah Moore. I can't wait to watch him in pads. The Jets haven't had a player like him in a really, really long time. And I think he could be an explosive piece to this offense, something that this offense really hasn't had. They've had, decent receivers over the years, but they're a little bit more like bigger body guys, go up and get the, contested catches, where this guy's just like a pure playmaker. And that really excites me a lot.
Elijah Moore in particular has been getting a ton of hype. I can't remember a rookie that is getting this much hype. That's maybe not a quarterback, because there's always going to be hype with any quarterback. I mean, realistically, what are your expectations for Moore? I love the fact that they were able to work things out with Crowder so that you could bring in another really good slot receiver. I think maybe people nationally are making the mistake only associating Elijah Moore as a slot guy. He's going to do everything in that offense. What are your expectations for him?
Yeah, I agree with you. I think primarily he'll be in the slot, but I think he will line up outside more than some people anticipate. It's hard for me to put on like, if he doesn't reach, I don't know, let's just say 800 receiving yards, something like that, it's not a good year, because this team, they have really 5 receivers where they could really spread the ball around. So I don't know if there's a particular number that I want to see him reach, but I just think if he's a regular part of the offense, making big plays and flashing, week in and week out, then I think we could be satisfied with that for sure.
Zach Wilson, obviously all eyes are going to be on him over the summer. They're going to be all eyes on him once the season starts, especially week 1 when he's going up against Sam Darnold. How have you thought the Jets have handled Zach Wilson so far? To this point, they have not added that veteran quarterback, which they might. So Zach Wilson's been getting all the reps as he should. His teammates seem to like him. Coaching staff seems to be high on him. What have been your takeaways on either comments Zach Wilson has made, things you've heard about Wilson, and then just in general how the Jets have handled him so far?
Yeah, I think the same thing. I think he's handled everything really well so far. It's very clear in a way that he is the guy, which I don't necessarily mind. A lot of people usually go by the older school where it's, you have to have the veteran in there. He has to get the first team reps. There has to be the competition. That's not really a competition. And we know with Morgan and Mike White that it isn't a competition. This is Zach Wilson's team. And that aspect I like. I think maybe as training camp gets closer, they'll bring in a veteran, but I'm not really opposed to taking reps away from the younger guys this early in the process. And, I think he's played well. I don't really think I've seen a whole lot of whether it's, the beat writers live tweeting or just anything that I've read up where he's really struggled. There might have been some days where he wasn't as good as others, but it's not like, he's out there throwing multiple picks a practice and just leaving a lot to be desired. I think he's, shown that he has a handle on the offense so far.
A legit conversation coming into OTAs and minicamp was, well, how is Zach Wilson going to handle New York? How is he going to handle being the quarterback of the New York Jets in that media market? I think he's handled it great so far. I think he's got the right personality. I think he's just a pro, and you could just see the kid's just oozing with leadership. I know he doesn't look like he's that old. We all could poke fun at his baby face, but the guy is, mature beyond his years. I've loved listening to him talk about football. I loved hearing what his teammates have had to say about him. I think if you're a Jet fan, so far, and it's very early, of course, we haven't played a game yet, but I think you should be very happy with what you've heard and seen from Zach Wilson.
Oh, without a doubt. And I definitely see those leadership skills coming out. He's a little bit more vocal, I think, than Sam was, which, it's just a different style. But what I do like is that the time between mini camp and training camp, he looks like he's interested in meeting up with his receivers and some other guys on the offense and keeping that work going, which I think is so important because, as a rookie, you have to get that chemistry down. And we know how important chemistry is, especially on the offensive side of the ball. So I think it's really in his best interest to continue to put that work in. And I think that's going to be big going into the season, like getting that chemistry down and finding those targets to those guys that you trust.
Matt, did I already make a mistake here? I mean, look, I got my my number 2 Zach Wilson jersey. I'm holding it backwards, but I want to show it off to everyone on YouTube. I mean, did I make a mistake purchasing one of these already?
I don't think so. I have held off because I have brutal luck with jerseys. Every single jersey I have in my closet, the player is no longer on the Jets. So I have held off, but I do not think you made a mistake. I think the Jets found their guy. I really do.
No doubt. And for those who have watched previous videos, if you follow me on Twitter and DM me, I'll give you the link to how to get a Wilson jersey that won't cost you hundreds of bucks. It's coming from an undisclosed location. So please subscribe to the YouTube channel, shoot me a follow on Twitter and message me, and I'll hook you up with that link. Matt, as far as other storylines on this team, there's a rumor out there that the Jets are in deep contract talks with Morgan Moses to potentially play right tackle. To me, if the Jets can get him, that's a no-brainer. You're talking about solidifying maybe 3 key pieces of your offensive line going forward. You have Becton at left tackle, Vera Tucker at left guard. You bring in Moses to play right tackle. All of a sudden, the Jets' offensive line takes a huge, huge step forward protecting Zach Wilson. Where are you at with Morgan Moses? And, do you want the Jets to maybe be all in to bring that guy in?
Yeah, I would love it, to be honest with you. I think he's a clear upgrade from George Fant. And, and that's nothing against Fant. I thought he played well in 2020. He's just not the same caliber of player that Morgan Moses is. And you bring him in, he helps out a ton in the run game, which is nice. When you have a young quarterback, you want to be able to sometimes rely on that run game just to keep the offense going, keep the drives going. And I think Morgan would do that for your offense in his athletic ability and stuff like that. Now, right guard, still a little bit of a question mark. I don't know if you could kick Fant inside or if it would still be Van Roten or Alex Lewis, but I think you'd have to feel really, really solid about 3 of 5 and maybe even 4 of 5 if you want to include McGovern in there as well.
I think if they sign him, it can't hurt because as much as I think every Jet fan loves Mekhi Becton, the concern you have with Becton is a guy that big, can he stay on the field and be healthy? He's dealing with the plantar fasciitis right now. They don't think it's too serious. They'll think he'll be ready to go by training camp, but he did miss some time last year. Is that maybe your concern with Becton, just him staying healthy and a guy like obviously Morgan Moses could come in and provide much needed depth on that offensive line?
Yeah, that's true. I mean, he missed 2 games last year, Mekhi Becton did. So I think having the ability to have a backup in there, like if Fant then kicks to a backup, then that's great because I don't know about you, but I'm not as confident in a guy like Chuma Doga having to come in and play significant reps.
Anyone Mike McCagnon picked, Matt, I am not confident in at all. So I'm just throwing that out there.
Okay, totally fair. We're on the same page here. So I would absolutely love it. You can never have too much offensive line depth. There's always injuries. So that would be a huge move. They have the cap space. Why not?
Looking at this defense, is there a particular player that you are the most excited to watch play for the Jets? For me, and I guess technically he has played for the Jets, for me it's CJ Mosley because he's played 3 healthy quarters for the Jets, and all the reports are that he looks good. I can't wait to see him back out there on the field. From an impact standpoint, what does it do for the Jets if Mosley's great? And then, of course, give us another player you're excited to watch.
Yeah, absolutely. I think if he can come back and be the player that he was in that one game against Buffalo in 2019, that would be phenomenal because he looked like the best player on the field at that time. And the Jets paid him a ton of money to come in here and really be the leader on that defense. So if he comes in and doesn't miss a step, that's phenomenal because looking at the linebacker room outside of Mosley, it's not great. It leaves a lot to be desired. So if he comes back and is the player that he was originally signed here to be, that would be huge. For me, I think Man, there's so many guys I could say on the defense. I'm going to go Bryce Hall. I'm really high on him. I thought it was surprising that he was still there for the Jets when they grabbed him in the 5th round last year. And I think he's someone who could come in and start this year and start 16 games and be, relatively productive on a unit that doesn't have a whole lot else outside of him.
Defensively, if the Jets pass rush is actually, a thing this year for the first time in forever, a lot of people are mad are talking about the concerns with the secondary, and I totally understand. It's not exactly an experienced group, particularly at cornerback. But explain to everyone just what the defense could be if the pass rush is actually really good. Like, to me, that will kind of elevate every other aspect of Saleh's defense.
Oh, without a doubt. And that's what Saleh was trying to do in San Francisco, too. He really focused so much on that front four and sending, just pinning their ears back and get after the quarterback. And the Jets defensive line is really one of the better ones in the league. And that's putting, Jets bias aside here. They have a ton of depth at the position. They can get at you in a ton of different ways. For once, they actually have an edge presence with Lawson, and then Vinny Curry in a rotational role I really like a lot. So if they are able to get after the quarterback, like you're saying, or like what I'm saying here, it's not so you can kind of get by with having a weaker cornerback group because they don't have to cover for as long. Whereas if it was the reverse, then that makes things a lot harder on your defense.
Staying with the secondary, Marcus May reported they have until July 15th to work out a long-term deal. I think it's a good sign that he showed up, and then you have a guy like our old buddy Jamal Adams not showing up out in Seattle. A couple things here. One, if the Jets could sign May long-term and Seattle doesn't with Adams, that'd be phenomenal from the Jet fan perspective. And then two, I think it's a good sign, of course, May shows up. I'd like to see the Jets and May work out a long-term deal because, one, May's a good player. But to me, it also sends the right message to everyone in the locker room that if you play well and you're a guy that, the Jets picked, you're going to get your money and get signed long term. I think after letting Anderson go and trading away Jamal Adams last year, I think it sends the right message to this organization if they lock up Marcus May long term. Where are you at with May and the contract talks?
Yeah, I think it would be wise to do. He's a really solid safety. And like you said, they kind of let some of those guys go who you thought could maybe be building blocks. They traded Sam Darnold, Leonard Williams, and you go right down the line. A lot of guys who maybe could have been second contract guys that weren't. With May, I think he could still, I know he's a little up there in age because he was drafted older, but I think he could still play for a few more years. So have him play out on the franchise tag this year if need be, and then give him a couple-year deal after that. And I still think he could be a solid safety. To me, I mean, last year I thought he was better than Jamal Adams.
I totally agree. And I think that, you look at, Marcus May and what he's meant to the Jets. Like, the guy's been a good soldier. Like, he's been on a lot of bad teams the last couple of years. You never hear a thing out of Marcus May. I think that's why Greg Williams got fired the way he did, because May ripped him in the post game, and Marcus May never says anything. And he came out after that Raider debacle and he criticized the coaching staff and basically, named Greg Williams by name.
Yeah, without a doubt. When you have someone like Marcus May speaking out and defending his teammate as he should, and an undrafted free agent was put in a terrible situation. I thought it was, really telling, and the Jets reacted very quickly. So it shows you the power that he has in the room. He's a captain. I think it would be smart to bring him back, and just for chemistry reasons too.
A name that some Jet fans have reached out to me and wanted to talk about on the defense is Sheldon Rankins. I think that's one of the more underrated signings the Jets made this offseason. He was a really good player in New Orleans. Obviously, he's not going to get you a ton of sacks, but he's good in the run game. He can get some pressure up the middle. He adds to that defensive line we were just talking about. Is the signing of Rankins maybe, in your mind, Matt, flying under the radar as well?
Yeah, without a doubt. If this guy is healthy, he's a very, very solid interior, pass rusher, and he's good in the run game as well. And it adds another element to the mix of the pass rush between him and Quinnen coming at the middle and Lawson on the edge. And then, who knows who's going to be on the other side. It could be a litany of guys. And that's going to make a huge difference in this defense. I would like to see him healthy, obviously, but even if he's not, then it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world because of the amount of depth that you have at the position. But if this guy is healthy, he can play. And I think the motor on him is really impressive.
It seems like Isaiah Dunn, a cornerback out of Oregon State, is turning a lot of heads so far at some of these OTAs and minicamp. Is he a guy you're looking at as maybe that potential undrafted free agent that could make a run and make this team?
Yeah, without a doubt. I think the Jets made him the highest paid undrafted free agent corner in their team's history. So they clearly liked what he brings to the table. It's really an open competition on the others. To me, the only one is Hall, who seems like a lock. Everything else, whether it's slot corner or the other starting outside corner, is up for grabs. And I think he has as good a chance as anybody. And so far, the early returns have looked very, very good.
He's Matt O'Leary. I'm Jake Asman. If you're new to the channel, just joining us live, please subscribe below. And if you have a question for Matt or myself related to the Jets or the NFL, feel free to write it in the chat box if you're watching this live, and we will answer as many questions as possible. Matt, going back to the offensive side of the football here, I'm like pinching myself as a fan of this team that it looks like the Jets actually have decent, dare I say, offensive weapons. No one's confusing the Jets for the 07 Patriots, but Corey Davis, Denzel Mims, Jamison Crowder, Elijah Moore, they actually have, solid playmakers. What's your take on the receivers the Jets have? And then we can get to the running back room. And then, of course, the ongoing debate on what the Jets should do at tight end.
Yeah, I really like the wide receiver room a lot. And now I know it doesn't have an elite wide receiver, but I think you have a bunch of solid pass catchers in that room. You mentioned you're bringing Corey Davis. That's a former top 5 pick, and he was really coming into his own last year in Tennessee. I think he's going to help out the young quarterback a lot. Mims, I thought, really flashed in his rookie year, played well with Joe Flacco, and I think that he's going to be a helpful piece in this offense. You mentioned the 2 potential slot guys in Crowder and Moore. Crowder is just so reliable on third downs. He's so good at just finding the soft spots and zones and sitting down and getting the ball. Moore's going to be super explosive. I can't wait to just get the ball in his hands, maybe a little bit on the end around or jet sweep kind of a thing would be good. And honestly, Keelan Cole too. Like, I think he's an underrated signing. The Jets got him a little bit later in free agency, and I thought he had a pretty good career so far in Jacksonville. And I think, he can get some touches in here as well, too.
I said this during one of my recent videos, and someone was like, "Oh, is that a hot take?" I don't even think it's that hot of a take. I think if you compare the Jets' weaponry that they've given Zach Wilson compared to, let's say, what Jacksonville has given Trevor Lawrence, I would take what the Jets have over Jacksonville, and I really wouldn't even think twice about it. What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I think it is. It's deep in a lot of ways. And sure, they have Jacksonville has DJ Shark. He's a nice receiver. And they have obviously Robinson and drafted, oh my God, the Clemson running back,
ETN. Yep.
Well, so they have nice pieces, but I don't know. I'm with you on that. I think the Jets are deep at a position that they're normally not deep in, which is a welcome change compared to the Darnold era.
Totally agree with you on Keelan Cole. I think he's going to be a nice player, in that offense. As far as the running back room now, I mean, if you look at the depth chart, Tevin Coleman looks like he's the number 1 guy, but we know the Jets are going to go with a running back by committee. Ty Johnson could see some touches. LaMichael Pirine still on this team, of course, and they used a 4th round pick on a guy that most draft pundits are very high on, and Michael Carter. So you look at this running back room right now. What's your best case scenario for how the Jets use the running backs in 2021?
I think if they look like those 49ers teams where they had a bunch of guys in that 600 to 700 yard rushing range, the Jets will be in good shape. I don't think we're going to see one bell cow of a running back. I think they'll really mix it up. And the 3 I think that are going to get the most touches is Carter, who you mentioned they just drafted this year. Coleman, who they just picked up, who's been in this offense for a long time now in Atlanta first and then in San Francisco. And then Ty Johnson, who I thought was probably the Jets' best running back on the team last year, and why Frank Gore continued to get touched. I don't understand. Don't ask. But the one guy who I don't really see as a fit in this offense is LaMichael Pirine. I think he's good in pass protection, but I don't think he has the explosiveness to play in this offense. But the other 3 guys who we listed off, they're explosive. And I think, if they change it up, maybe one week it'll be Carter, who's the lead back. And then the following week, Coleman has a big week. And it's kind of like almost like those New England teams where you never know which running back's going to come. And it kind of makes your offense a little bit more versatile in that way.
Tight end room. I am so done with Chris Herndon. I just, anything he gives them, great. I'm not expecting anything from Herndon. It's been way too long since he looked like a player coming on during Darnold's, rookie year way back in 2018. It looks like, based on all the reports, Tyler Kroft, the guy they signed, from the Bills to a 1-year deal, he looks like he's the guy that's been getting a lot of targets in a lot of these 7-on-7s and 11-on-11s in minicamp and OTAs. What are your thoughts on the tight end position? Do you think they add anyone? Could Zach Ertz maybe be a possibility in a trade? Your thoughts on the Jets tight end situation?
Yeah, it's definitely a weak point on this team. I think I'd be surprised at this point if they traded for a Zach Ertz. I'm not opposed to doing something like that. I just think at this point, if they were to do something like that, it would have been closer to the draft. I reluctantly am still holding on to my Chris Herndon stock. It burned me the last 2 years, but I'm just a sucker for Herndon. I don't think he's going to be an elite level tight end. I think that ship has long sailed, but I do think that there is talent there. And looking at specifically Adam Gase and his entire career, he has never utilized tight ends well after leaving Denver, of course, but he hasn't done anything well since leaving Denver. But he didn't know how to use Gesicki. He didn't really know how to use Herndon, or they had both Herndon and Griffin on the roster last year and refused to put two tight ends on the field, which I never understood. So I'm holding on to my sliver of hope that he's going to be someone who can maybe be released after Adam Gase, leaves. He comes on a little bit. That's my hope, but I don't know. It's a tough ask. I see it.
What do you think Adam Gase has been doing during the offseason?
I have no idea. I'm gonna guess drinking just a bunch of coffees and grinding film. I don't know what else this guy does. Really, he doesn't have too much fun.
There's been nothing on Gase at the very beginning of the offseason. It was, he's being considered for the Bama OC job. Him and Bill O'Brien are duking it out to get yelled at by Nick Saban for a living. And then we heard about he might interview in Seattle, and that never happened. And Adam Gase. He's just kind of gone. I might need to add a segment on the radio show called Gase Watch, because nobody seems to know where he is right now. But man, we've come a long way, Matt. I remember, we spoke about this a couple of weeks back when you came on the radio show. Just the vibe around this Jets team is so different. It starts with Robert Saleh. We know Joe Douglas is well liked by the fans, but Saleh is the head coach. He's kind of become the face of this team in addition to the new quarterback in Zach Wilson. If the Jets wanted to hire the anti-Adam Gase, they have essentially done that with Robert Saleh.
Oh, without a doubt. Just the energy that you see him bring, whether it's those clips from him in the draft or just at practice, just having the energy up. It's completely different. And even like if you want to go back to Todd Bowles too, Bowles didn't have a ton of energy either. It's just really a different mindset. And it's a cliche, but I think it's true. Guys love playing for this guy. They're willing to run through a brick wall for him. And it's really exciting to see that because, well, really the last two Jets coaches did not have a ton of energy.
Is there a positional battle, Matt, that you are intrigued in, that you think that is going to maybe come down to, the preseason to decide? I mean, you look at this team right now, they're set at a lot of positions. Secondary's open. Some guys can make some impact there. Obviously you're always looking for someone to emerge on the offensive line spots. We don't know who definitely the starting five is at this point. What's the positional battle or a couple positions that you're looking at?
Yeah, to me, right guard's a huge one on this team, especially if they bring in Moses, then that just adds another element to it. But even without him, that's a competition that I'm looking forward to watching between Lewis, Van Roten, and Cam Clark, too. I think he's someone who should be considered. I know that he didn't really get on the field last year as a rookie, but I'm excited to see him in training camp. And then another one, if you want to go on the defensive side, I would say the edge spot on the other side of Lawson. Supposedly Jabari Zuniga has gotten some reps on the other side, which I maybe was writing him off a little bit too early. I didn't think he did too much as a rookie, but I think seeing who battles out and who gets that side on the other defensive end is going to be an interesting battle too.
Ultimate Warrior writes in the chat box. If you have a question, feel free to write something, and we will bring the best ones on the air. You guys think the Jets will sign Sherman? I would say this at this point, if the Jets have not signed any veteran corners, I kind of take Robert Saleh at face value that he thinks his scheme will get the best out of the guys they already have. And, I think the Jets look at it like, we believe in, our talent up front elevating the rest of the defense. So I don't know if the Jets are going to sign Sherman. Plus, Sherman said the other day, I believe, that he wants to play for a contender. The Jets are coming off a 2-win season, so they're not in that category just yet.
Yeah, I'm with you on this one too. I think something would have happened by now, and maybe they do something a little bit closer to training camp. But I'm buying into what Saleh's been saying, which he likes the young guys, and his system is have that front four get after the quarterback. And I mean, this is someone who we've seen have a lot of success with later round guys and undrafted guys. So maybe he does it again.
A question that we should cover here is the backup quarterback position. A lot of Jet fans want the team to bring in a veteran quarterback. Saleh has been asked about that, and he said, look, we don't feel like we need to do anything right now. We wanted to have the guys we already have on the roster get all the reps possible in OTAs and minicamp. By the time training camp comes around, though, and the pads actually come on, do you expect the Jets to have a veteran backup quarterback helping out Zach Wilson?
I think so. I'm not a big James Morgan guy. I really did not like that pick at all last year, and I don't think Mike White is just someone who you could rely on as quarterback too. Some names that maybe you could see circling around. Gardner Minshew is probably going to be on his way out. I think that would be a big one. Nick Foles has been another one just because of the Douglas connection. And obviously, I don't think he's going to stick with the Bears there. So those are two guys to me that I think make a ton of sense and could play if something were to happen to Zach Wilson.
Roofy writes in here on YouTube, what is the holdup with Moses? Am I crazy, or could he help protect our young investments? You're not crazy. He definitely would be doing exactly that. I think the holdup, and tell me if I'm wrong here, Matt, your thoughts on this. I think it's just, Joe Douglas is not going to bid against himself. Moses' camp is trying to get the most amount of money for their player. And, the Jets are not going to overspend. They have the most salary cap left in the NFL. So they know any offer a team makes, the Jets could match or beat. So I think it's just contract negotiation right now.
Yeah, I'm 100%. I'm with you. I think it's really come down to the Jets and maybe one or two other teams. And the Jets probably gave their offer, and he's going to go back and see if he can get that from the other teams that are interested. And if not, then he'll be a Jet. That's really how I feel.
I'm with you there. He's Matt O'Leary. Once again, if you're just tuning into the live stream, Matt, of course, you know who he is if you follow the Jets on YouTube. He is a just phenomenal Jets YouTuber. You can follow him on social media at Matt O'Leary NY and check out his podcast. Just Jets is the name of the podcast. Matt, any final thoughts here? We got a couple weeks now until we get to really amp up and ramp up that Jets training camp coverage. But overall, I think if you're a Jet fan, you should be feeling optimistic about where this team's at, the plan they have in place, and of course, all eyes will be on this rookie quarterback, but there are a lot of really exciting new players that are going to be on this roster that Jet fans are going to be pumped up to watch all year.
Yeah, without a doubt. And I know this was the overarching theme of the show that we just did, but I think the comparison of just the mindset of last year, what it was like with Gase, Darnold, and a 2-win team versus the excitement going into this year. And I'm not saying they're going to be a playoff team or anything like that, but I think they're going to be giving us a watchable product week in and week out, which is such a welcomed thing for this Jets team and these Jets fans.
Do you think the Jets will still have a season by Columbus Day? Because if they're still alive for, maybe competing by Columbus Day, that's a, significant improvement from what we've seen the last 5 years.
Yeah, I do. I really, maybe I'm a sucker for saying that now, buying in, because I've got burned so many times, but I think this team's going to be competitive. I think they'll be in games, and I think it would be fun. Like, I'll take it if they're losing games because their corners can't cover anyone, 34-31. I'll take that, man. Just score some points, please.
For me, this year is not necessarily about the win total. It's about, are guys getting better throughout the year? Are the Jets competitive in games? Like, they're not getting blown out as much as they did the last couple of years under Gase. And of course, if Zach Wilson plays great and they lose, you don't want to lose, but you can live with it, because ultimately, if the Jets are ever going to get to a point where they're consistently contending, Zach Wilson's going to have to be a franchise quarterback. So it's all about him playing well. And, we'll look at the win-loss record at the end of the day. And yes, it's important, but I just want to see that kid play really well and give Jet fans hope that they finally got that franchise quarterback we've all been waiting for.
Yeah, without a doubt. Like, even there's a scenario where the Jets only win 5 games, but if Wilson plays lights out and he looks like he's the guy going forward, then I'll take that. As you said, win-loss total at the end of the day, not super concerned about it. I'm really more concerned about the growth of these young guys. And then you have another year of a ton of draft picks. You're going to have one of the most amounts of cap space in the league. This team is going to look really, really different in 2022.
And then every Jet fan will be getting their Zach Wilson jersey like I already have. Matt, this was a ton of fun, man. Been following your work for a long time. You do great Islander coverage as well. So for those who are into the Islanders playoff run right now, definitely follow Matt on social media. You can read all his Islanders coverage too. Thanks so much for coming on, man. Have a great weekend, and I'm sure we'll talk soon.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for having me on, Jake.
Guys, thanks so much for watching. If you are new to the channel, first time, please subscribe below. Comment your thoughts on the Jets. Are you optimistic right now as a Jet fan, as we have wrapped up mandatory minicamp, and next stop will be training camp coming up this summer? Guys, have a great Friday. Thanks for tuning in. I'm back on the radio on Saturday, so if you're listening to this on a Friday, I'll be on the radio on Sports Map Radio from 3 to 6 Eastern time tomorrow. Definitely listen to the show then. So long, everybody.